welcome everybody. Yes, we are back. I know we weren't here last week. Chris had a little sabbatical of sorts, but we are back this week, and I think it might be good because, well, frankly, because Chris and I disagree on a lot of things this particular episode. A lot.
I know this is going to be a real fun one. It's I was just saying before the show, I think today could be the day that I become the most hated person on the internet.
I'm looking forward to this. I want you to be so disliked to the point where people are actually going, Steve, that dude's great, man, but that Chris, yeah, no, not happening. Because
it'd be nice if for a change, instead of people getting in touch with me saying they won't work with me because I work with you, people get in touch with you and say, no, we're having nothing to do with you, Steve, because you work with Chris. It'd be a nice sort of reversal, balance the scales a bit, I think.
What I've learned about you just recently in the last 8 minutes, that might actually happen. But we'll find out. We'll let the audience decide.
You never know. Stranger things have happened.
So before we even get into what we're going to be talking about with the DNC, RNC stuff, you actually had brought something to my attention just moments before, basically, we went on air. And I did find a little article on it. I think I wanted to kind of touch on that because when I was reading about it, I was like, holy crap, this is bad. And there's a couple of different reasons why it's bad. And it's basically a mob mentality and the old adage, if you're not with us, you're against us. Mm-hmm. So you want to kind of touch on what you were talking about with the BLM mob?
Yeah, so it's something that's a little bit disturbing. Now, I guess the first thing I want to be clear about is I support that there is an issue, I think, in the US with, obviously I'm not in the US, so but judging from the outside, it would appear to me that there is an issue of racial issues in the US, and I think things like Black Lives Matter can be important. I think the problem is the mob mentality and the groups that have taken over it, who aren't necessarily people who support what's behind the cause. It's just furthering their political agendas. So I just want to preface by saying that. So the mob mentality that's been occurring is where they're harassing the mobs are harassing people who are basically just having dinner, or at cafes, whatever they're doing, insisting that they raise their fists in solidarity with them, forcing people to take a political view is an issue. The raised fist. Now, I don't know if there's if it's linked to anything racial in the US, but from as far as I'm aware, the raised fist is a Marxist or a communist symbology.
Yeah, Chavez kind of thing, right?
Yeah. So that it's which is the concern, because I think that there's clearly an issue in the US regarding how African American people are treated. There's certainly things like racial profiling. It's economically they're a lot worse off, and there's issues that need to be addressed to fix that. The problem is when you've got extremist groups that are taking over these causes, and then basically going with mob mentality, forcing people to raise their fists or abusing them if they don't. It hurts the cause rather than helps it. So it divides people because it gets turned into a political thing. A lot of people, especially on the conservative side, don't want to be involved in the mob. And I mean, if we have a look at the picture that's there on the screen, and what we can see is, I mean, these people who are there abusing the person for not raising their fist.
You can actually see it here.
I'm seeing a lot of skin color that's very similar to mine. I'm not seeing a lot of So it's
this poor woman is out there by herself, and they're just ganging up on her.
Now here's the irony. The woman in the picture is actually someone who supports Black Lives Matter and has marched with Black Lives Matter, but she just didn't want to give in to the mob mentality. So that's
and I don't blame her. I really don't blame her at all. Here's the thing, that the whole symbolism thing about, first of all, it's not the intent of the person. It is the intent of the mob to have compliance through intimidation. That and even though I'm not a Glenn Beck fan, Glenn Beck was trying to say that this new BLM to raise fists is very reminiscent of the Nazi salute. I think that's a little hyperbolic, but I think he makes a point, at least, to say that when you have a mob saying, "Hey, you need to do this, or you're going to face the consequences, exactly like it was in 1930, 1945.
It's not the same salute, but what's behind it and the methodology is absolutely the same.
Methodology is the same.
I don't think. I think when you look at Nazism and communism, I don't see. I think they pretty much touch each other. They're very, very similar in their ideologies. They're certainly very, very similar in the fact that they're both the extreme authoritarian movements. I believe in what's called the horseshoe theory, which is instead of left and right being a straight line, it actually bends back around and basically touches the other side. And even when I look at, say, China, for instance, even though it's communist run, I actually look at China as a fascist state. I would consider that to be a fascist state. Same with North Korea. Really, there's a very fine line in the distinction between them. But the tactics that they're using are the same tactics that were used in 1930s Germany, forcing compliance.
Right.
The same tactics that were used in all over the world wherever there's been communist revolutions. It's the tactic that is commonly used. Now, getting back to it, there is an issue that needs to be addressed as far as racial issues in the United States. The conservative side of politics is actually very, very much wanting to see that fixed. I mean, from a capitalistic point of view, at the very least, the wealthier everyone is, the more money they've got to spend, the richer everyone gets. So it's this whole dragging down thing is not a conservative idea. But the conservatives aren't going to get behind movement that is going. I mean, if you can explain to me how the issues in black communities are helped by a bunch of white teenagers going and torching a car yard, I'm all ears.
Yeah, no, there's not. It's not. It's not. It's just
It's
them
not.
in their mind's eye thinking they're doing something productive.
It's basically, and I know it's the old the right wing person's calling everyone a communist. In this case, it is actually. They are Marxists. I know in Australia we had the Black Lives Matter protest in Melbourne was actually organised by the Australian Communist Party. The socialists organised it in other states. So this is common tactics. What they do is they latch onto whatever the populist issues are at the time. So you'll always notice that the communists. Socialists are very big on climate change as an issue, even though they don't necessarily agree with it. I mean, you have a look at some of the polluting nations, and communist nations are amongst the most polluting. Part of their plans is to industrialize. So it's
But all they need is the polarizing topic. That's it. Doesn't matter what the polarizing topic is. Yeah,
it's all about getting people signed up and getting them indoctrinated into the entire.
Get them motivated around a common foe or ideology they want to fight against.
Yeah, basically. So look, I do take issue, and I take a lot of issue with the mob mentality forcing people to raise their fists.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to say that I'd be like that woman and wouldn't. It's like that picture, the one guy in the Nuremberg rally who didn't do the Nazi salute. That famous. I'd like to think that I'd be that person. I don't know if I would, because
it's hard to say, man. You got a mob like that. You don't know what they're capable of doing. You're probably fear. And I'm sorry, but if you have to impose your views by fear tactics, your views are not that worthy of consideration, or at least not the way you're presenting them.
Absolutely not. And you know what? Because it's sad, because there really is issues that need to be resolved.
Sure.
While this is going on, they're hindering it. They are absolutely hindering.
Well, that's why, like you said, you don't see any black people here, because black people are probably going, "Hey, this is hurting us." Because I mean, most people that understand the BLM know that the BLM is a reactionary movement against police brutality, which seems to be a more substantially aggressive toward black people than white. I mean, white privilege is a real phenomenon. I don't think anybody in the right mind would disagree that given between a white person and a black person, a cop is going to be a little more harsh on a black person in majority of the country, and especially even in California in affluent areas. It's happened. I mean, these are just normalities.
I mean, from an outsider looking in, it appears that way. But I always take with a grain of salt what you see on the news reports. I mean, even the latest shooting. I mean, there's a lot more that's come out with that latest shooting.
With the guy trying to get in his car.
Well,
shot him in the back 7 times.
Actually, was it his car? So he was actually.
Well, there was a problem. There was some problems there too. The thing is that he was walking away from the police and he was opening a car door. There could have been a firearm, but I don't see any need to shoot. Why would you need to shoot somebody without.
Oh no, I don't. I think there was better options. I mean,
Yeah,
look, I guess the police, when it's
they
difficult
overreact.
because, I mean, not everyone has guns, but I guess knowing police here in Australia, it's a high pressure job, and it's a job where at any stage some crim could attack you, or they could pull a knife, they could pull a gun, and I think in the US, especially where guns are so prevalent. Yeah, that can be the case.
But
Now,
shoot first, ask questions
what
later cannot be the modus operandi
no, it shouldn't. But
for
at the
standard
same
ops.
time, if you, yeah, and look, it's none of us were there. There'll be an investigation into it. But what gets me is what the media initially reported and what got out there. Now, what the media reported was this poor black man was just trying to get into his car and was telling the police he'd broken up a fight between two people, and as he was walking away, the police tried to arrest him and they shot him in the back, which isn't actually what happened.
Yeah, no, I remember the initial report, and then I watched the video. I'm like, these don't match.
No.
Yeah,
so the police were actually called to a domestic disturbance where a woman claimed that this fellow who was shot had stolen her keys. He had outstanding warrants, and he was trying to take the children. The children were in the car. Yes, his children were in the car. And what it sounds like is it's probably a custody dispute or something like that.
Yeah.
The police have gone to arrest him. He's pushed them off. He's gone into the car that they've shot. Now, I don't think that is justified in that case. Sometimes obviously it's a non-fatal shooting because he's still alive.
How they didn't kill him, I don't know. It's 7 shots.
Yeah,
but even still, it was custodial. But yeah, he definitely wasn't compliant. But they had every chance to take him down before he even got to the car. He calmly was walking away from them.
I agree. Yeah. I agree. But then when he goes in and reaches in, look, I think unfortunately in the US you've got to assume if someone
well, that's why we have tasers. If they would have tasered him, I would have been like, yeah, that completely justified. Absolutely,
that's what should have happened.
Yeah,
absolutely. Now, did the police have tasers? That's the question. In that situation,
I assume they all do at this point.
And this is another reason why you shouldn't defund the police, because
we're going to get into that a little bit tonight too. Actually,
we will. But and I think that's a classic example. It's why would you cut back resources? I mean, I would assume if they had tasers, that's what they would have used. I don't know, but I guess the point, and I'm not offering an opinion on it because, like most people, I don't know the circumstances. None of us do. The people who know the circumstances are the gentleman who was shot, the other people who were standing around, and the police, of course. So they're the people who know the circumstances. I would imagine there'll be an investigation, and certainly in this current climate, if there's anything untoward, there'll be charges. There's no two ways about it. But I think we've always got to take. I guess the point I'm making is take what the media says with a grain of salt. Assume that they're lying, and that's what we have to do now. Assume the media is lying.
I don't know about assuming they're lying, but assuming that, one, you're probably not getting all the facts, the whole truth, and
Absolutely
two, there's definitely potential for lying. I don't think it's safe to say that they're lying every time, because that'd be you can't assume that they're lying every time, but you definitely can assume that, hey, I'm going to reserve a little more judgment on it until I find more information on it, because I know I'm not being told all the information. Like, for example, this screenshot here. If they could,
I'm just going to quickly address something in the chat, saying that I'm making up bullshit about the guy who was paralyzed. No, I'm not. There's actually dispatch recordings, so I'm not making up anything. I've got absolutely zero interest in or need to make up anything. I don't even live in the US, so no, there's nothing being made up. Actually, go and look into it and have a look at the information that's just come out, rather than just what the news reported to rile people up.
Let's say that this picture here, all they do is they change like the guy's shirt, and they put his shirt and they say white power on it.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say that lady there was black.
Mm-hmm.
How would that optics look?
I can tell you exactly how that optics would look. See, I don't think this isn't a racial issue.
No, it's not a racial issue. It is a way. It is how they're expressing themselves, and they're not doing it in a way that's beneficial to anybody. Matter of fact, it's contrary to their goals, and it makes them look like they are an aggressive mob that has to change people by force, and that never works that well for anybody.
No. And look, I mean, there's videos out there, and I always shake my head in disbelief when you've got white people abusing, or like white protesters abusing black police officers um, over, racial issues. It's just like, are you kidding me? It just tells me that it's not. I think there's some genuine upset and angst. And even George Floyd's brother, he came out and said, "This is not the way to do it. Don't do this. Don't do this in my brother's name." There's issues that need to be addressed. You're not going to address them by burning down car yards and intimidating people to do this, which I think that the people behind it are aware of. But the more they can keep people divided, the better it is for socialist causes or extremist causes. I mean, it's good for the far left and it's good for the far right. They're the only ones who are winning out of this situation. The 99% of people who aren't in that category are the ones who will ultimately lose out because they're being manipulated.
Well, I mean, this picture here is I think is even a form of manipulation. I mean, look at the cameramen. The cameramen are, they're trying to get into this. They're fostering this. They're promoting this kind of stuff and sensationalizing it, and they're wanting people to do this kind of stuff. But again, I feel for that poor woman who, by the way, as you said, apparently supports BLM, but isn't going to, cave into mob mentality. And I applaud her for that. But at the same time, it's pretty ballsy because this mob does not look like they're that rational or that sane. And I wouldn't know what I would be doing if I was in that specific situation. I have a hard time,
and neither do I. I mean, I'm fight, not flight. But I think in that situation, I'd either raise the fist in solidarity or give them the finger. I just don't know which one.
Yeah.
It would probably depend if I had my family.
I have a problem.
Family with them.
But I have a problem with the raised fist thing because again, that's actually can be used for other things as well. And I don't know. I don't see a need for me to conform with a specific action to agree with a policy or not, and to be solidarity with somebody.
But at the same time, I don't think I'd want to be beaten up by a mob.
Well, that's the other thing, the fear factor,
over a quick gesture just to get rid of them.
Right. So it is. You have one of those things. You weigh the pros and the cons, but I tell you what, this woman has nerves of steel.
I thank Zeus and Thor that I live in Australia.
You guys only, you have wild animals that try to kill you. We have white people trying to kill us down here.
Yeah. Exactly. I reckon you're safer in Australia with the redback spiders and brown snakes.
That's pretty sad that you're safer there than we are here. All right, but anyways, we wanted to touch on that a little bit because, again, I understand the whole wanting of the Black Lives Matter thing because they were marginalized groups and they felt like the police were not taking their lives seriously. And they're right. I mean, there's no question about that. But they have actively announced stuff like this, and they should.
Yeah, but look, I don't think there's any argument there that racial profiling is a thing.
Absolutely a thing.
Probably it shouldn't be a thing. And look, it's not necessarily always a color issue. I think it's an economic issue. You'll find that yes, while there is a large proportion of African Americans in jail, what you'll find is that out of those people, I mean, they're also coming from lower socioeconomic.
Yeah, I don't think that holds in America. I've heard that many times, but I don't think it holds because crime for crime, if a black person and a white person commit the same level of crime at the same level, at the same poverty level, the white persons tend to get more help and not get as much time as the black person. Period.
I'd be surprised with that.
Yeah,
I'm not in America, so
I can only speak from America, and this has been a problem in the judicial system. Matter of fact, the whole legislation with legalities relating marijuana had nothing to do with the poverty level. It had to do with the fact that a lot of black people were smoking pot, and they were trying to bust them on these BS charges.
Yeah.
So the black person was more likely to go to jail over pot, and they're also more likely to spend more time. What?
That had nothing to do with the vice presidential pick, did it?
No.
Fair enough.
But it is true. It is true.
Just in a comment in the chat that from Les saying, "Come to Melbourne. The weather is our greatest threat." I would disagree. I would say that the Victorian Premier is your greatest threat at the moment. That's what's happening in Melbourne and Victoria. I feel really sorry for you guys.
I like Melbourne.
Well, you wouldn't at the moment. You get arrested for taking your bin out after curfew.
What?
Oh yeah, they've
like
gone
garbage.
into a hard lockdown. Yeah, they've gone into a hard lockdown. And look, that's actually just one extreme example. A fellow was approached by the police and near arrested because he was putting his bin out 1 hour after curfew on the night that bins are meant to go out. So it's Melbourne's in a bit of a bad situation at the moment.
That sounds pretty
Victoria in
scary.
general. The entire state's locked down. No one can get out. The nickname for the premier, which the premier is like the governor, is Dictator Dan. He's an extremist, and I really, really look forward to. He's just passed, or just negotiated to pass emergency powers for another 6 months, which it's very reminiscent of the Emperor in Star Wars, actually. But it's that's probably an extreme example, but. It's the rest of the country's kind of looking at Victoria at the moment and really feeling
we have some pretty staunch rules down here that Gary Newsom, our governor, implemented. But the fact remains is that some of them are needed. And when he lifted them up, people went crazy down here, and they just they needed to let it go a few more months, I think, before they started lifting stuff, because people just took advantage of it and thought everything was okay when it wasn't. But anyways, moving on from the BLM thing, I think we both agree on this one, is that this is mob mentality. All right.
I know, and people tune in to see us argue, so...
Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there.
I know.
All right, so this is another thing we wanted to talk about, and I don't think we're going to disagree on this one either. But this was something that you have a weird fascination with, because I guess the pool boy having a...
look, hang on, we can't bring that up. That's for private talk.
Well, it's not. I'm not kink shaming.
Oh, sorry, no, different thing. Don't worry, different thing.
Yeah, not your pool boy. This pool boy.
Oh, okay.
So I guess that he had a relationship with Jerry Falwell Jr.'s wife. I think her name was Is it Becky or something?
Hang on, let me have a quick look.
And I guess he liked to watch. Now, I'm not judging, dude, at all. This is not a kink shame thing. I've known people like this. It doesn't have any good, bad, or indifferent. I mean, dude, whatever turns you on, you do. I have no problem with any of this whatsoever. What I have a problem with is that it's Jerry Falwell Jr., who is a massive hypocrite.
Maybe. Okay. Look, there's one or two things that have happened here, depending on which version you believe. Now, according to the pool boy, it was a cuck situation, and okay, I'm not going to kink shame, but yeah, there's a hypocritical aspect to that. What I would also say, though, is I know for a lot of people who are in ministry or who are certainly the children of prominent preachers who find themselves thrust into the family business, it can be quite difficult. I know a lot of people who are still in the ministry who don't necessarily agree with everything, but there's nothing else they can do, and that's why things like the Clergy Project exist. So there is a possibility, and I think we should be mindful that could be something. The other option B is she had an affair. He wasn't there. There was no cuck thing, and none of us are going to know. But there's three people who know the truth.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough. There could be a situation where she just, had an affair. However, him with that pool, him on that boat with that girl, whether it was an Oculus picture or not. He's also known for having a bit of a.
That is the worst scandal ever. I mean, you know what? It was a joke because she had the pregnancy belly. It was a hillbilly party on a boat. And they were doing the photo where they were both showing their belly.
No, I totally agree. Look, personally, I don't have a problem with it, but you got to look at the optics for a guy that's in charge of Liberty University, and they have very strict guidelines. These people are hypercritical against any kind of things that they find to be sexually non-normative or deviant. And he's supposed to. I mean, he's a bit of a philanderer from what I understand, and a bit of a player.
Probably, yeah.
And I'm not kink shaming whether she had an affair or not, or he condoned it and it was a cuck situation. Either way, this is a power couple that is the evangelical power couple.
Absolutely.
And they're just humans like anybody else, but they will criticize other people for having any kind of slight. I mean.
But can I ask you, does two wrongs make a right?
No, and I'm not saying two wrongs don't. No, what I'm saying, I'm not arguing that. What I'm saying is that Falwell himself, it was not Jerry Falwell was a piece of crap.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so his son probably thinks a lot of the along the lines of the way that his dad thought. So,
or he just fell into the family business.
Okay, well that's pretty much the same thing. I mean, that's what happened to Eric Hovind, right?
Well, Eric Hovin's, same thing. You're right there. Yeah.
So, I mean, like you said, there is two possibilities here. Neither one bode well for him.
Incidentally, there's an arrow on my head.
Is there?
Not anymore. You just moved it. I think the mouse cursor was. I just saw that in the. Apparently, it's triggering people, so that's all right. You can shoot me later. Look, I all that aside, I think what people are forgetting here is I want to talk about who the asshole in this situation is, and it's not Jerry or his wife Becky. It's the pool boy.
Why? Why is he the asshole?
Why?
Yeah.
Okay, straight up, they went into business. Now he's having a consensual relationship, regardless whether Jerry's watching or not. He is having for 7 years a consensual relationship. Now, in that time, he's gone from pool boy to owning business and business partner with the Falwells. So
Yes.
Obviously, there's been a
There's been a quid pro quo of sorts of something along those lines. Has it helped him? Yeah.
I don't think they've financially burdened him over the years. I'll put it that way.
Sure.
So he's having a dispute with them trying to buy out a business. They're having a financial and business dispute, and all of a sudden, out it comes. It's blackmail. He's absolutely blackmailed. What he has done is he said, we can't resolve this problem, so I'm gonna, here's my revenge. He's a nasty piece of shit. Regardless, and look, he knew exactly who they were. Like, let's not kid ourselves. He knew exactly what he was doing for 7 years.
Oh, sure.
But he's coming across as playing the poor victim. I mean, at the end of the day, if he was having the affair, and look, this is why I'm almost inclined to believe that it may have been an affair where Jerry Falwell wasn't involved, because I think this guy is full of shit. I absolutely think he's full of shit. Now, if it's him having an affair and Jerry found out about it and whatever, okay, well then he's having an affair with a married woman. Okay, so they both know what they're doing. That's
which is against God's rule, law, and all that kind of stuff.
It's against God's rule, and you know what? That's between the four walls and whatever God they believe in. But if it's not that, and even if Jerry's watching, and he's still an active participant in that, and then he's used that to essentially blackmail them because he couldn't get a deal that he wanted. Sorry, I'm just going to say allegedly blackmail them because he couldn't get the business deal that he wanted, and then when they still refused to basically
he wanted a buyout from a business.
When he wouldn't do that, well, when that didn't happen the way he wanted, well, he just got nasty, and out comes the story. I mean, what a piece of shit. Regardless, if you're in a consensual relationship and then you use it to blackmail, so if people have got their kinks, people have got their kinks. He's used this kink or whatever it is, or affair or whatever it is, to essentially try and blackmail these people. Look, the Falwells are arseholes for what they do, and the way they act. It's and I don't want to come across like I'm defending the Falwells because. While I think that I sort of roll my eyes at things like the photo on the boat and sort of go, oh, really? It's like even in the Christian days that really wouldn't have been an issue. But it's like they're hypocrites at best. And whatever people want to do in their private life, good on them. But considering what they put out there, I don't have a lot of sympathy there. I do have sympathy for the situation, and I do understand that people in ministry positions are sometimes stuck in those ministry positions. And look, not everyone's able to just go to something like the Clergy Project and escape. If he were to leave religion, I would imagine that would be a fairly difficult thing for him, considering who he is. And it's certainly financially and for his family, it's not going to be a good thing. But regardless of that, I don't have a lot of sympathy because at the same time, if you're in that situation, you can lighten your stance on a lot of things and you can start to guide it and use that influence to guide in a better direction, I think. But I think the reality is the pool boy, who is now the smart suit-wearing business owner, I think he's a piece of shit.
Okay, so let me ask you, because I don't know the chronology. Where did the story come up first? Was it Jerry claiming that his wife had an affair, or did the pool boy come up with this, say that it was a mutual thing, that Falwell was involved and knew about it and liked to watch? Because there was a business venture for some kind of hotel. He became a part of that hotel. I guess he wanted some kind of buyout or something, but he was basically they're claiming that he was extorting money from them. But did the story come out about him being with his wife happen before or after any of this with the pool boy? Because I thought that Jerry Falwell made the accusations that his wife was cheating on him first. Am I not correct on that?
Yeah. So no, what had happened was the story came out that there was, because the way it looks, and I'm going to preface it by saying this is opinion, not allegation. The way it looks is that the story was floated, and what's happened is, knowing that something's about to come out, Falwell's jumped on the front foot and said, yes, look, there was an affair, because something came out about Falwell's wife and a pool boy, which he was a pool boy briefly when they met, but it sounds more salacious. So the story, before it's come out, he's jumped on the front foot, which is what most people in that situation would do with good advice, and said, look, my wife had an affair. We dealt with it years ago. I'm not going to be making any further comment. It's a personal matter between us. And that was it. And then after that, we'll know if the pool boy's now getting the story.
Well, that's okay. So, but I was right. He mentioned it first, though, even though they said there was always all.
No. There was a story that had been floated and was going to come out. So Falwell just jumped on it. It's like look, any time there's, what most journalists will do is, if there's a story breaking, they'll always go and get. So in this case, the story's probably sitting with the journalist. Now the journalist will go to that person, probably ring Jerry. These are the allegations that have been made. We're going to print the story. Would you like to make a comment? At which point Jerry's obviously gone no, and then
but the pool boy wanted to
before. Yeah. Well, it was probably the journalist who would have approached it at that point. So it's a bit of damage control. It's not uncommon. You see it in politics all the time, where they get their heads up a story's about to break, so they quickly get it out there, and the journalists tend to not mind, because it increases the people or the eyes on it, because it's something that's like it's flagged. So, but it's pretty standard stuff, really.
So my friend Yada says, when Falwell's wife finally leaves him, she'll confirm that it was her husband that was having sex with the pool boy. And that probably here's the thing. That's the problem when that's the problem when you have these couples. Like, I was involved with a couple years and decades ago. She was gorgeous. The problem was, come to find out that he had an interest in me at some point, and I was like, this has to stop, because I was like, no. Not king shame. It just wasn't it. Just not into that.
No, you don't have to king shame, but if it's not what you're into.
Yeah, I'm not into it. But I didn't know that. I didn't know he was bi. I had no idea. But whatever. I mean, you live and learn. But she was fine. So, and like I said, I was young, and we all have a little bit more exploratory things when we're the petulance of our youth, right? In our 20s and 30s.
Chris in his 20s, let me tell you, Chris in his 20s probably didn't have the same sort of thoughts as Chris in his 30s. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, you were probably one of because you were more evangelical. You were probably one of those, I can't have impure thoughts.
Well, see, I converted to Christianity at the age of 24, so 18 to 24 was still okay.
Okay. But after that, then it was no more impure thoughts.
Yeah, there's no impure thoughts. I got married pretty quick, let me tell you. But it's that kind of that fixed that. But I went pretty hardcore. I was really sort of thrown into the. If you look at a woman with lust, then you've committed the sin in your heart, sort of thing, which was really hard for me, being a young man in my 20s and being, I wasn't Fabio or anything like that, but I did okay, I guess, and used to enjoy myself, and it was, but so that was a bit of a shock for me.
I don't know. Like I said, I didn't convert till I was 17, and then I joined the Navy, and I'm telling you, trying to be religious and chaste in the Navy, not going to happen. I mean, I lived in Bremerton, and I had a couple girlfriends. I mean, it's just So
I know every time there's a US warship that comes into Sydney Harbour, the King's Cross district probably makes more in that night than they would the rest of the month.
Yeah, well, like I said, I never had to worry about that. But I mean, people knew I had a girl on Tinder that I used to hook up with for like 2+ years. I don't know what it was. It just turned, and it was weird too. We just ended up finding each other. We would hit Liberty together, and we would just end up running into each other like every time we hit a port. It was just because it was just we were more together, and she'd be on a Tinder, and then find out her schedule. And
it's not a stalker situation. I mean, I know you've got a few stalkers now.
Yeah, but I don't sleep with any of those stalkers. Yeah.
Well, it's
at least, I mean, they might in their mind's eye. I don't know. I have no idea. I'm waiting for those people to have little effigies of me.
I've seen people wearing Steve McRae masks. So
yeah, and I'm sure they got voodoo dolls and crap too.
Oh, probably
little effigies and
sharp pains in your shoulder or anything.
Yeah, I do get some back pain.
Well, there you go.
Yeah,
it's the voodoo word.
I thought it was age, but you know what? It's probably voodoo.
Go voodoo. That makes more sense.
All right, so let's move on to the GNC or the DNC and RNC things. Now, I didn't watch any of the DNC. I watched as part of the RNC some stuff, and I happened to watch this particular video here. This is Kimberly Guilfoyle. She is Donald Trump Jr.'s main squeeze. And I think this is where you and I are going to differ the most, because I'm not going to play this video because every time people
maybe not. I think I think I know a lot of the points you're going to bring up, and I'm not necessarily going to disagree, but I might have a different perspective on it.
Okay. Well, let's do that. Like I said, I'm not going to play this video because, again, anytime anybody does this political stuff and they play a video, YouTube loses their mind. Content ID, copyright strikes, it's not even worth the hassle. But I can show an image. And people know who Kimberly Guilfoyle is. So I watched this particular video, and it was very bizarre because it came across to me as a very evangelical speech, and very hate mongering, and very fear mongering. And what about the worst possible scenarios? And what am I going to play onto people's fears? And misinformation. I mean, the very first thing she says in the first minute or so, she says that Trump has created the greatest economy the world has ever known.
It's a political rally. Of course she's going to say that. She's not going to come.
Oh, so facts don't matter? Wait. So facts don't matter.
Political rally. What do you
say whatever you want?
Say, Trump has done a reasonably job that I think is kind of okay. Could be a little bit better, but
what has he done for the economy? And we certainly don't have the greatest economy the world has ever known. Not by any stretch. Yeah, well, now granted, we can blame Covfefe for a lot of things, but unemployment is at all-time high.
Go to before COVID, and it wasn't too bad, but it was always temporary.
Okay, but sure, even if you don't blame it on that, he hasn't created any wealth. He hasn't created any domestic product. He hasn't. Nothing's gone up for this guy. He hasn't. I don't know. I mean, like I said, I think he has other people that are running some financial stuff, but that is a claim, though, to say the greatest economy the world has ever known. Nobody believes that. Nobody believes that. That's just ludicrous.
Is the okay? I don't believe this is the case, but would you say that it's fair to say that the US is the strongest economy in the world?
Not at the moment.
Actually, it is. Actually, it is. Yeah.
Not at the moment. I think.
No, China's not
I want to say China, but
I think you'll find the US is the strongest economy.
Are we still the strongest economy? I don't know.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely. If it wasn't, you'd have Joe Biden screaming about it, or whoever's holding Joe Biden.
If you're just going by gross domestic product, then the U.S. And then China, then Japan, and Germany.
Yep.
Okay.
So technically, yes, he is running the greatest economy. And look, there's more wealth in the world now than there ever has been. Technically, and I'm using the word technically, she's probably right. But that it would be true of any leader of the US. So Barack Obama also did the same thing, and it's Clintons and Bushes and Reagans and whoever else.
Yeah, he didn't create it. He got inherited a lot.
No. Any US president after 1939 can lay claim to that. So technically, and look, it's all about how you word things. But I mean, it's a political rally. I mean, what's
okay? Facts don't matter. Political rally. And by the way, like I said, this is just GDP, though. I mean, you obviously are not taking into account many other factors, social factors like cost of living and exchange rates, things of that nature. So I mean, it's hard to say what actually is a great strong economy. So I don't know if it's just by saying just because we're the highest GDC that translates to the strongest economy per se.
Okay.
Do you think it does?
Let's have a look, and we can actually run an experiment here. And I don't know if this is going to turn out. This could prove me wrong. All right. Say where you live now. You live in a reasonably populous area, but you're not in the
sub rural.
Okay. So
Suburban.
if you were to rent a 3-bedroom home, what would you be looking at for say renting or buy? Actually, what would it cost you to buy a 3-bedroom home where you are?
The lowest would be 1,500. The mid range would be about 2,500.
To buy
a month.
To rent, sorry.
To rent.
Oh,
To buy around my area here, it's 300,000 to 350,000. And then further it's out is more like 250,000. So 250 to 350,000 US.
Okay, so we'll do a direct comparison with where I am now. I'm not in Sydney, but I'm in a suburb of a smaller city that's about 45 minutes from the outskirts of Sydney. So we're probably what you'd call regional. Okay, so for me to buy a home, a 3-bedroom home near where I live, at the minimum, we're probably looking at 850, 900,000 as a cost. So the cost of living, the cost of in the US is absolutely going to be lower. That being said, we've also got the highest minimum wage here. So the minimum wage here is at least $20 an hour, but generally about $25 an hour. Plus, then if you work overtime, if you work weekends, there's everything sort of thrown on. It's when I had my cafe.
Yeah, Sydney's a very high cost of living. New York would be the same, very expensive too. San Francisco is one of the highest cost of living. That's about the average for a house up there too.
The highest cost of living in the world is Singapore.
Yeah, Singapore's expensive.
Followed by Sydney. The US doesn't even crack the top 10.
No, not in comparison to those countries, but like San Francisco in the United States is one of the most costliest places in the world to live. That in New York.
Yeah, San Francisco is. Yeah. It's I don't think it actually cracks the top 10, but it's certainly the most expensive in the US. And it is up there. I mean, it's there's no point sort of kidding ourselves there. So we look at that, and then if we have a look at the exchange rate, I can tell you since Trump came into power, the US dollar is better against the Australian. And I'm using the Australian economy obviously because it's where I am, but we are a strong economy. But the American dollar has actually improved. It's
pretty strong.
Parity. Yeah, we used to have dollar parity, and I think it's at about 70 cents now. And I know and keep an eye on that because I used to own a shop that imported from the US and only from the US. So I was watching my costs go up and up and up. It would have actually been a lot better for me if he hadn't gotten through. Now the reason for that is it's what I call a temporary inflation, and that was due to some of the protectionist policies that he brought in. He forced a lot of businesses out of, say Ford out of Mexico, things like that. Brought a lot of businesses back to the US. It's only ever a short-term fix though, because when you're dealing in a global economy, it doesn't work. It's a policy that the US abandoned back in the 1940s. The old protectionist. But so look, technically, yes, but it was always going to come back down, regardless of the nasty bug that's going out there. It was always going to come back down.
Real quick, Josiah Hansen, $2. Rocks being atheist greater than Cheeto and Chief. Thank you, Josiah. Got a super chat, yay! Yeah, man, we don't usually get too many super chats in this show, which is a shame because I split my super chats with Chris. Which ours hasn't been that much after, but it eventually will add up, I guess.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm not too stressed. Someone just said that I give Trump the benefit of the doubt 100% of the time. No, actually, I don't. I criticize Trump on a lot of things, but I'll also where things are brought up in the media that aren't correct. I'm happy to bring them up. I'm not gonna look. I'm not in the US, so I don't need to blindly follow one side or the other. I'll look at it from each point, and if Noam Chomsky said that Trump is worse than Hitler, well, Noam Chomsky knows absolutely nothing about 1930s Germany.
Yeah, I wouldn't ever compare him to Hitler.
The comparison of Trump to Hitler is just a fucking joke.
The 10 most expensive cities ranked is New York. This is from Investopedia. New York City, New York. The average home price is about $652,000. Wow. San Francisco, number 2. Honolulu, number 3.
That's in the US, obviously.
Yeah, this is U.S. Yeah, so like I said, New York and San Francisco are the 2 highest states. Honolulu is very expensive. Boston is very expensive. Washington D.C., Oakland, San Jose, San Diego, Los Angeles, and Miami are the other top 10. And I've lived in a lot of those areas. I mean, I've lived in San Diego. I've lived in not too far from Boston. I lived in Connecticut, but I've been to Boston. I've either lived in or been to. I've been to San Francisco. I've been to Honolulu. I've been to Washington D.C. These are very expensive areas.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at a list, and I'm actually a little bit surprised because Sydney was number 2, and I remember that was something, but obviously it's dropped. It may be because the Australian dollar's dropped a bit, but it's got so Singapore, Osaka, Hong Kong. It's actually got New York at number 4, so I'm
interesting.
Correctly there.
Hey, look,
and Zurich, and
look, Rez for 50 Australian says fixed. Thank you, Rez. Look at that. We actually have a actual Will super chat here. You get paid, Chris. You get some money to. Well, you know, I haven't been able to send it to you because of the way it's worked out, but I owe him money. I'm indebted to him. I literally am indebted to him. So I'm going to wait until I'm going to take like 95%. Actually, you know what? I'm going to take 100% of everything, and I'm going to just be like, sue me.
Oh, I'm going to steal the channel off you, so it doesn't matter.
Too late.
Oh.
So. But thank you, Rez. Thank you very much for that. We appreciate that. We like doing these shows, and they don't get a lot of views compared to other stuff, but I don't really care. I like doing this with Chris. So,
you know what? This is actually one of the highlights of my week, actually, because it's, if people hadn't worked it, I actually like talking politics, and I find American politics so fascinating. It's just it's so different to anything else, and you know, it's funny because I mean I see the crap I see from both sides. I mean, look, essentially. Let's talk about these conventions. I mean, you've got the DNC, which was basically the Orange Man Bad convention.
Yes.
And then you've got the Republican convention, which is Trump can do no wrong for half of it, and the other half is Joe Biden. You can't trust Joe Biden. He's gonna turn the country communist.
Yeah. The socialists. No, socialists. Socialists is the big thing. But the RNC, the little bit that I did kind of watch with these things, the RNC makes Trump out to be a messiah figure. And the DNC makes him out to be Satan.
Yes.
It's weird how 2 different groups can look so differently on one particular. Well, you know what? That's, I guess, what happens to me a lot. People, I guess, 2 different groups. Now, I'm not. They don't put me as like Satan or Jesus figure. But I mean, it is weird how so many groups can look at something so polarizing.
I'm pretty sure that I jokingly tweeted out that you were the atheist Satan the other day.
Yeah. There was a really good blog by somebody who he goes by Answers and Reason. I don't know if I sent it to you. Did you read it?
Yeah,
the Stephen.
I had to read that.
Yeah, the McRae virus. It was really good.
Yeah.
So I was like, thank you.
No, look, I thought it was pretty balanced.
I'm cool
you know,
with
that. It wasn't a we love Steve. It wasn't a we hate Steve. It was just a here's my experience.
Yeah, he's not a sycophant. He's not an acolyte, but he knows logic and he knows reason, and he works with somebody who has a master's degree in philosophy that has told him, Steve is not some inept moron when it comes to some of these topics, and he's like, I looked into what Steve had to say, and Steve's right on a lot of this stuff. But this is why when I'm doing stuff like on politics, I'm going way out of my comfort zone, but I don't mind. I got Chris to help me out, and so.
Well, look, it's interesting. I mean, I think politics is something that people should be more interested in.
I agree.
But the problem is, and it happens so much in society now, where people just believe what they read. And I mean, I think people don't trust the media, but if the narrative suits their team or their tribe, well, then they tend to go for it. I mean, I've seen people who will look at the same article and get 2 completely different.
Yeah, I agree. They read things very different interpretations. Yeah. I mean, look what's happening even with the non sequitur case. There are still people reading that in a completely different light. And me and my lawyer and Glenn and Brewhiv, same person, and Reds and Bullinator, we all look at this and we're going, what are they seeing here? How are they possibly getting this? We don't know if it's willful ignorance or just complete bias. Or both.
But the other thing to remember too is what you've got to look at is when people side with you, you get all these lunatics that will go on the attack. So guess what? It puts people deeper into your trench. Now, I think there's a little bit that happens on the other side as well, and that's nothing to do with you. That's not your fault. But there's some people who are just they're going to back you all the way, and if someone maybe disagrees, and we've had this conversation before. I think that there's people who will probably take it a bit too far. So there's it's not one side's perfect and the other side's evil. I think.
Well, like you said, the horseshoe interpretation is pretty well correct. I think. Yeah.
You get crazies on both sides, but what it does is it just basically digs people in further when they feel that they're being attacked. It doesn't actually bring them back out and to the other side, like the woman who's refusing to raise the fist. You think she's going to show up to any BLM protests now and march with them again? No, not going to happen. Not going to happen.
But real quick, I got to mention this real quick. Yep. Oh, sorry. Go ahead and finish.
I was going to say, I did an interesting interview with Ed, the grumpy old dude, last night, and he was talking about his time in prison, and what happened was people would go in and they'd be radicalized, because what would happen is they'd find themselves targeted by, it's because it's very racially divided, they'd find themselves targeted by a particular racial group, which then, because they felt victimized, it dug them right into some of these more supremacist views, depending on what race they were. So I think it's a similar thing that happens. But sorry, that was the point I wanted to make.
Yeah, I didn't watch that yet. I probably want to get a chance. I kind of want to hear his story. Seems interesting. So deep in the heart of Broken Pieces, thank you for becoming a right-handed person. But like I said, make sure that you're okay with that. I mean, I know your situation, and I know you deal with a lot of stuff, helping poverty stuff, and so I'm putting your link in the video description. Go subscribe to Deep in the Heart Broken Pieces, because we were on. Yeah, we had a thing on the other night on the Rum and Coke, tackling how to help with poverty and how to address it, and even though we're just a bunch of YouTubers talking. I think it was a discussion that needed to take place. I think a lot of people have a aversion to certain types of conversations, and poverty is something that I definitely have to address, is because a lot of us have been there. A lot of us do understand it's rough, and
especially at the moment with everything going on, and I think we can't necessarily solve all the world's problems on a stream, but at least if we're having the conversations, the process is happening. If we're having the conversations, other people are having the conversations,
and somebody might listen
talking about it.
Somebody might get something out of it.
The more people talking about it, the politicians start to listen, because it's all voters, isn't it? So,
yeah, no, I think it makes a difference somewhat down the line. I think that people do listen. People have changed positions. People have become more aware. Sure, is it going to change the world? Probably not. But I mean, we can only do so much, and what we do, we do, and we think that hopefully somebody will get something out of it. And that's the biggest thing there is just that people will learn and implement these things in their day-to-day life and become better people. That's cool. That's good enough for me. So thank you, Justin. Outdone, $10. I would like this super chat to go towards funding the troll army. I know how expensive Australian minions are. They are very costly, dude. I'm telling you, it's not so much the Australian minions, it's the fact that they're all kangaroos. And do you know what it's like to keep cost-wise to keep a kangaroo and train them? Prohibitively expensive. Yeah,
they're pretty aggressive buggers too. I mean, they will fight you. They'll fight you.
They'll fight each other.
Jeez. They'll fight anything.
Yeah, they're mean. They're strip mean.
This is Australia. Everything fights everything here.
All right. So thank you, Outdone, for that. We appreciate that very much. Like I said, I'm surprised that, like I said, we don't get a lot of views on this video, but we have a pretty good core group that watches this. So thank you. It's just the hours. This is probably not the best time slot, but it works for Chris and I, and that's all that matters. Could we have done a better time slot? Probably, but this works for us. And again, it's not all about the views.
Well,
it's about the quality.
We might be able, my Thursdays have kind of become a little bit different, so we might be able to have a chat about that after.
Okay, at least we have a little flexibility.
Possibly, if people would prefer an earlier time slot, we might be able to work something out.
Okay. Okay, so number 2 here, I took notes on this thing. She says Trump puts America first. Now, I'm sorry. There's only one thing Trump puts America first. There's only one thing that Trump puts first. Himself. Himself, exactly.
Of course, like every politician.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I don't believe that at all. Look,
Come
look.
on.
Sure, every politician has political aspirations, and they're going to do what it needs to take to get elected for the most part.
Okay.
But Trump is so egotistical,
name
so
a virtuous
self-centered, so
president.
narcissistic. You don't get a shit about America.
Name one virtuous president who wasn't putting themselves first and their agenda first.
Yeah.
Give me one.
Okay.
Give me one, and
I would say that.
Point.
Here's the thing, though. He should put. Okay, first of all, if that's the case, then it's nothing special. If he puts America first, like any other president, then what's special?
Nothing about it.
I would think that he would put.
It's a catchy line.
It's a catch. Yeah. Okay. That says nothing then, if that's the case. But also, it's so much put the American people first over himself would have been a better way. That would have been interesting to hear that. But no, that's not what she said. But yeah, I don't.
He's an American person.
Yes, but like I said, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, they're not talking about putting American interests first. They're just.
I'm happy to call bullshit on that as well. I agree with you. No, is he putting America's interests first? No, of course he's not. But show me a politician who does in America.
Yeah, not an excuse. All right, number 3, I wrote down. She has said the word socialist. I don't know how many people will actually watch this particular interview, or this, not interview, I'm sorry, particular speech. But she mentioned socialism and socialists so many times. Bernie, was not Bernie. I'm sorry, Joe Biden. He's such a socialist. You vote for Biden, you're a socialist. If you vote for Harris, you're a socialist. If you do anything but vote for Trump, you're a socialist. There's 2 problems I have. That one, why is socialism so bad? And 2, why is she using it as a scare tactic? That's what makes them socialists. Now again, I'm fine with certain socialist policies because that's how a country has to operate. We have the VA socialist, roads are socialist. We have
you need a balance.
You need a balance, right? But she's trying to signify it and say, look, if you vote for this person, it's going to be pure socialism. And she starts mentioning countries that, well, you see how it worked out for them. And they're like, well, no, wait a minute, we're still a constitutional republic. We're not turning into a socialist republic just because we have health care.
No, and look, I come from a country with universal healthcare. I can assure you, we're not socialists.
Right,
we're not
exactly.
Close to socialists. We've got a conservative government in power, and it's gun control was done by conservatives here. Abortion was legalized by conservatives. We've got universal healthcare, which was done by the non-conservative party, but it's supported by the conservatives. I don't have a high opinion of Joe Biden. I don't think there's any secret about that. I'm not convinced that he's completely there. I don't think he'll serve out a term. I think Kamala Harris will become president if they win the election.
I think that's a very strong possibility.
Yeah, but she's not a socialist. She's probably. I think her policy is certainly on crime and things like that. They're sort of almost right leaning. It's definitely right leaning for the Democrats. I think what they've tried to do with her is I think they've done a little bit of virtue signaling. But what I think they've also done is I think they've actually tried to find someone who is more in the center. Unfortunately, what they've done is they've basically put up Hillary Clinton number 2, because people don't. In the US, you don't have to vote. In Australia, you do. So in Australia or in the UK, the centre tends to appeal more, because if people have to vote, well, they're going to vote for what they see as the less crazy option. It's different in the US for you guys, though, because you do have to vote. I don't think Kamala Harris is going to excite anyone. I don't think Joe Biden's going to excite anyone.
No.
By the same token, you have someone like a Bernie Sanders, and the moderates aren't going to go and vote for Bernie. So I think possibly someone like an Elizabeth Warren could have been a better option.
Yes,
I mean, look, Tulsi Gabbard would have been I'm so big on Tulsi Gabbard. It's she's to the left of Bernie. I'm a conservative, but if she was the vice presidential pick with Biden, I'd be saying, you know what, go vote Biden. It'll work out fine.
Yeah, it's very scary to think that Harris might be president one day. It's definitely possible, because all these guys are old. I'm sorry, they're getting up there. But I don't know. I think a lot of people may not vote for Biden for that very reason, that they're afraid. Not having it has nothing to do with her being a woman either. It's just she's not a well-liked person in this country. She's not. She's like Hillary. You said Hillary 2.0.
And I think she's potentially. Look, I think she.
She's like Hillary without all the scandals.
She's putting herself first, and she's
very have high aspirations. Yes.
And you know what? That's fine. That's absolutely fine. But the reality is she's not that bad. Like I think if she becomes the president, I don't think she would be a bad president. I don't think she'll go down as one of the greats. I think she would be okay. And when she was first announced, I probably had a different opinion. I've looked into her a little bit more, and I think that I'd certainly rather her than Pence. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, okay. Well, if that's the case, yes, I definitely her more than Pence. Absolutely. By the way, Josh Garver for $100. Thank you, Josh. Wow,
I love you, Josh.
Josh,
hey, person.
Yeah, Chris is going to get some money today, I think.
All right.
I think I'll be paying you out today, just to get you off my back.
Okay,
He's been bugging me. Steve, where's my money? Where's my money? Every day, where's my money?
That's all I do.
You know what's so funny? He hasn't even given a crap. He's just like, yeah, whatever. You float me some shekels, I'm happy. I swear to God. But Josh says, I'm surprised you guys don't have me more watching. I'm surprised you guys don't have more watching these. I enjoy the content. The reason being is politics are not for everybody, Josh. Just like Josh is my math guy. Josh is my mathematician guy. By the way, Josh, whatever happened with the Wolfram Alpha? You have to keep up with me on that and let me know.
I think the other thing we've got here is I think people like to tune into political shows where it's their tribe. So I mean, if we had two conservatives, the conservatives are going to tune in and watch it. If
Probably.
we had two left-leaning people. Yeah, the left-leaning people are going to, but because we've got, I mean, I'm conservative.
This is a balanced type show, yeah.
Yeah, you know, we probably, I think what we do really bad is we actually find ways to agree on things, which is not what politics should be about. It should be about fighting and getting aggressive. But look, you know what? This is probably one of the highlights of my week. I enjoy this so much, and like I said, I'm fascinated by US politics and the way that you all think. Because you're all mad.
And it's funny we do agree a lot, being so different in our perspectives and being across the not just across the pond, but halfway around the world. But it's the same problem I have with like Dr. Fuzrana. I actually get along with the guy. We actually have a hard time finding stuff to disagree about, which is the whole point of the show, agree to disagree. Agree to argue. We have problems trying to find something, but this next episode we are going to disagree on morality, and I guarantee it, we're going to not agree on a lot of stuff. We've been told by the showrunner, you guys get agree too much. You guys need more disagreements. That's the whole point of the show. I agree. But Josh, real quick, I want to point this out. Josh and I may have found mostly Josh, but found a bug in Wolfram Alpha's code, which would have been really interesting. I like doing. I don't love math, but I like math, and so he's a huge supporter of our math stuff. So it's nice that he's interested in the political stuff too. Thank you, Josh. I was so good
at maths in high school. I became a historian. So
if it wasn't for Josh, I wouldn't have met Sweet Heathen in real life initially. So
there you go.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, so he's been really helpful, and I by the way, I acknowledge these things. I definitely acknowledge them, and I appreciate them immensely. And by the way, he's helping with, like, people know I'm moving too. I was actually looking for a place tonight. Because I don't want to wait till the last minute. So if I move next week,
that's why you knew the costings, isn't it?
What's that?
That's why you knew the costings so quick.
Yeah, exactly. But like I said, I might be moving sooner than expected. I might be looking for a place as of like tomorrow even. I started tonight, so tomorrow I'm going to be searching around. And it's nothing bad. It's just that he wants the house to show, and so we want to get the house show ready.
That's pretty standard.
And everybody out, and which is fine. I got no problem. I've been here 5 years. I can't complain, right? So, but we're just figuring if we're going to move as a group or as individually. So I'm going to be looking for myself individually, and they're going to be looking for a group. So if we find a group, I'll go with that. But if we find it individually and it works out, I'm just going to move, the next couple of weeks or so, or even sooner. It could be like next week. I don't know. I can just get a U-Haul and go. It's not that big a deal, All right, so he's still looking at the Wolfram Alpha thing.
Incidentally, I just saw a comment, and I normally I won't take it as an offence, but it says that that Chris strikes someone with an extremely poor understanding of US politics, but feels they can comment on it because I'm hearing a lot of naive shit from him. I've actually studied US politics at an academic level. So you're
hated. Here's the funniest thing. It's like me in philosophy to the atheists, they hate me. Now the atheists are going to hate you for your politics. This is great. And
it's interesting because it's certainly in the atheist community. I'm not the standard, and I know that. And it's I didn't just my view on social issues certainly changed when I deconverted, and I'm definitely more liberal on my social issues.
I'm liberal on social issues. Yeah. For the most part.
Yeah, in the US, I think one of the biggest problems you've got is, I'd struggle. I don't think I'd be a conservative in the US. Economically, yeah, okay, I buy into economic conservatism. But the problem is religion is so entwined in,
and that's the problem.
Right-wing politics.
How did that happen? How did evangelism get intertwined with conservatism? Just so much they're ingrained with each other.
I think it was probably. I think it was. If I were to pinpoint something, I'd probably say the Reagan era. I think that's when it really sort of became intertwined.
It sucks because a lot of people shy away from the Republican Party because of that, and I don't blame them. I have.
Yeah,
I was a Reagan Republican for almost my entire my mom and dad. My mom was a diehard liberal. She met my dad, then she became a conservative. My dad was a conservative the entire time. I was raised conservative. Like I said, my daughter was named after Ronald Reagan, for Pete's sake. So.
Yeah, look, I think a lot of it's potentially, with the Red Scare of the 70s and 80s, it's sort of, the rise of tele-evangelism. I think there's a lot of things that happened at the same time. I mean, Reagan, well, maybe not Reagan so much, but certainly I know his children, his son in particular, is I believe an evangelical, a Christian radio show host. And I just remember that from back in my Christian days. So they're very strong on the evangelical side of things there. Obviously George W. Bush was very out. I don't think Bush Senior was as overt.
No, but Junior was probably
Junior.
More, yeah.
He the first two chapters of his book are basically dedicated to his journey to religion, which is interesting. But I think that sort of that Red Scare sort of really it took off a bit more in the 70s and 80s. I think it sort of took a bit of a different sort of a bit of a different feel. I think it was, people will say the Cold War peaked in the 60s. I actually think it was the 70s and 80s. The 70s is when I think they say 1976 was, if you were ever going to live in the Soviet Union, 1976 was the year to do it, because that's when economically they were probably at their best. I think you'll find that there was a lot of, and you look at like Thatcher, Reagan, they were both fairly strong anti-communists, and they certainly rode off that popularity, and how I think religion and conservatism probably slowly intertwined over a long period of time, but I think it was in that 80s era that it really kind of.
But here's the thing: the liberals claim it too. The liberals claim religion as well. It's just the evangelicals tend to side with the conservative, and Trump can do no wrong. They think he was sent from heaven. And I'm not even. And I'm not. This is not hyperbolic. Some of them actually do believe.
No,
that
they do. They do.
Yeah.
The Trump religious symbology.
It's just bizarre
because. I mean, if I was like the Christian version of me, would be looking at Trump going like he's a guy he's been married multiple times.
He's a philanderer. He's probably a rapist. I don't know. But what happens if
he's not an upstanding moral citizen?
No, but let me ask you this: what happens if Trump was a cult-like figure, like somebody who actually had the personage to be a cult-like figure? I
think he's a cult-like figure now. I think that
okay, but
for some people it's gone to that.
But let's say he was Jim Jones level. Let's say he had the actual charisma, because I'm sorry, but Trump has got crap for charisma. He's not even a great speaker. Let's say he had the ability of gab. He had the ability to preach. He had the ability to convert people. He had the ability to be an actual full-on cult leader. Wouldn't that be a little bit scary to you? Because it sure is to me.
I think he's actually at that level now. I know he doesn't come across. I know he doesn't come across well, but he's an old school New York real
so
estate.
What they prop him up, but if it wasn't for those people, he would have no skills. He wouldn't be able to do that. He doesn't have the ability to be a cult leader without these people putting him in the forefront.
I do worry. I don't like the cult that surrounds Trump. I think it's dangerous.
I agree.
Think he fosters it.
Yeah. I believe he revels in it.
And look, to an extent, I think all politicians do, but I think he probably takes it to another.
I think I'm telling you straight out. I think he thinks it's divine right of kings.
Look, you're probably right. You are probably right. I don't, and just to be clear, I don't like Trump. I wouldn't vote for him. I would not vote for Donald Trump. If I was in the US, I wouldn't vote.
Would you vote for him over Biden?
Yes.
Yeah. So you would vote for Trump. We're going to lose a lot of subs over that one. We'll get into it. We'll get in
I
there.
don't
We'll get
know.
in there.
Yeah.
I knew his answer right there. I called him out on that one.
Yeah. Would I vote for him over Harris? No, I think I'm actually coming around to Kamala Harris.
I would vote for Harris over Mike Pence or Trump.
I would vote for anyone over Mike Pence.
Yes, Mike Pence would be horrific.
Mike Pence is dangerous.
Yes, I agree.
He is absolutely dangerous.
Anybody but Pence.
He's what you don't want.
Well, that's why.
Anyone.
Well, before it was like anybody but Hillary, but now we realize how bad Pence is actually as well. I do not want Pence, who thinks that Jesus can come around any time and save us. Therefore, we don't have to worry about anything. Climate change doesn't really matter. Jesus will fix it when he shows up.
Bring on Armageddon. Let's start a war in the Middle East so we can get Jesus back quicker. Yeah, that is dangerous.
Damn right it is.
I guess the thing with Trump is I don't think Trump buys into that. I don't think Trump.
No, he doesn't. I don't think he even believes God exists. But
he absolutely. Well, he believes a God exists.
I don't even know about that. But don't you think Pence
thinks he's the God? Yeah.
But don't you think Pence is reminiscent of the imams back, in the Arab countries who believe that they need to foster some kind of war to foster in the coming of Yahweh or something? Yeah,
there is absolutely no difference
the same shit.
between him. Look, if he had his way, it would be the same kind of laws as what you get in somewhere like a Saudi Arabia.
They're very Sharia.
Maybe not as harsh on on the treatment of women, but certainly adultery would be illegal. It's Becky Falwell should be on the stockades as we speak.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
I think he's just I've just seen Vlad the Con for $2. The God Emperor Trump is a 40K reference, just for you.
The God Emperor Trump.
Just for you. There's my Magnus the Red.
There you go.
If you like 40K, you'll know who Magnus the Red is.
I don't. Is that like a Warhammer thing?
It is, yeah, it's a Warhammer.
Okay, thing. I didn't know. Okay, yeah. I don't know why I know that, but whatever.
Yeah, he fought the God Emperor. So, sorry, I just saw that, and because it was
I don't know how I knew that was Warhammer. I don't know. I wasn't looking it up. I've been playing a game recently called Remnant from the Ashes, and it's fun, dude. Okay. It was a free game because it's one of those things where they're coming out with a DLC. So they want you to buy the DLC, so they're giving away the game free, which makes a lot of sense because it's a $40 game, $10 DLC, you get a little extra content. And I'm going to get the extra content because I love this game. So I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll buy the freaking DLC because this is a great game. But it's been very time consuming and it's hard as hell. I was playing on normal mode and I was getting squashed, dude. People are like, get good. I'm like, how can I get good if I keep dying? I can't even play the damn game. It's hard as hell.
See, that's why I stopped playing Call of Duty because I just have 10-year-olds like one-shotting me.
This game was super.
I'm never going to improve
until you learn the mechanics. Until you get the better gear, you go to fight. Like the first boss, I tried solo like 30 times to kill him and I couldn't do it. Finally, I had a friend help out. Actually, two friends, but it was just insane. But Stonebutt says for $10. Stonebutt says we love Stonebutt. Chris not voting for Biden over Trump shows how wholly ignorant he is on U.S. politics. Biden is better in every conceivable way. Plus, Pence is unlikable with no charisma. He won't win re-election. And I happen to agree with Stone on this one. I think that Biden and Harris is going to win. I thought last time Trump was going to win.
It's more likely, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Trump is going to get a second term. And I do think that there's a high potential for Trump to be indicted as soon as he gets out of office.
I think regardless of the politics, they all look after themselves. Look, I will say, no, I'm not ignorant on U.S. politics. I just have a different viewpoint to you.
Yeah, he's not. I'll vouch for that.
I'm a conservative.
Yeah, he knows his politics. He just doesn't agree with
difference. And look, I don't look at people who vote for the other side and assume ignorance. I just assume a different opinion. And the thing with politics is you need that balance. You need to have both because there's good things that come. If you just had all left-wing policies, that's bad. If you have all right-wing policies, that's equally as bad. You need that balance, and you need that little bit from both sides to, because there's good things. I mean, look, in Australia, for instance, universal healthcare came from our left-wing party. That's a great thing. That is one of the, and you know what? It's no one will ever get rid of it. Our right-wing party got rid of guns because and the left-wing party ended up embracing it. It's you need that good balance. You need that little bit of, I guess, that capitalist ideology with that little bit of social, not socialism, but social responsibility. Yeah. Because if you don't want it to go because if it goes too far to the left, you get communism. Goes too far to the right, you get fascism. Neither of those are good. There is a balance out there.
Marty Moose, I just tweeted you Pence's last video by the Lincoln Project. they fucking bury Pence with his hypocrisy. And I like the Lincoln Project stuff they've been doing, or like these people that have been putting out videos showing the hypocrisies on Pence and Trump have been brilliant. And I mean, they have been very effective, very effective.
Yeah, they're interesting. It's
because they're using their own words. They're using their own words.
Look, if 2 weeks ago, you know what? 2 weeks ago, I would have said that Trump is going to win. I don't think he will now. I think it's actually going to. I think it's going to be a lot closer than everyone thinks. I think both sides will probably claim. Whoever loses will claim that they were rorted or dudded, or there'll be something because it's going to be close. I think Biden will win. I think he'll be president for 2 years, and then I think Harris will be president. That's what I think is going to happen. And yeah, as far as Mike Pence having no charisma, no, he is not. He's not a likable person.
No,
he has absolutely zero charisma. He's even got the Kent Hovind, slick over.
Yeah.
Look, no, the reason that Pence is there is because when Trump was running, he knew that he had to have that evangelical to balance his dalliances, I guess you could say.
I completely agree.
He knew that he had to, invigorate the evangelical voter base. Otherwise, he was no chance. And and that's why the evangelicals are all there. I can tell you right now, whether Trump wins or loses, there'll be a lot less evangelicals around him this time next year.
Oh, guaranteed. Yeah, if he loses, the evangelicals would be like, oh, moving on. Yeah, moving on, definitely.
Yeah. And unless Donald Jr. or one of the other Trumps is planning on running, in which case he might.
Yeah, I think they're all more likely going to end up in a jail. But okay, so we only made through 3 of these. I got 25.
That's right. I don't have anywhere to go.
Well, yeah, but I don't want to go for too long here. Some of these are pretty quick. She claimed that she tried to use fear-mongering to say that we're exporting jobs to China, so she's trying to use that as fear-mongering. She's trying to use defunding. Let's just go through these, so I don't want to spend too much time on them. She's talking about fear-mongering for defunding the police, and again, there's a lot of misrepresentations about defunding the police. I'm for defunding the police properly and effectively by putting that money instead of going to the police, going to infrastructure where you don't need as many police. That's the concept behind defunding the police, not to abolish police. It's not the same thing. Because she was trying to make it out to be an abolishment. It's like, no, defunding the police is not abolishment.
That's not how it's sold, though, is it?
What?
And look, that's not how it's sold. And the other problem
is then there's a communication problem.
The people who are out there screaming defund the police don't necessarily know that. Look, I think better training for police. I think better infrastructure and better practices for police are needed. I think a lot of it's knee-jerk reaction, but at the same time, yes, she is fear-mongering.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
She's absolutely.
When you say, look, if I had $1 million budget, and I said, look, I can take $200,000 out of this budget, and I can put that in infrastructure that can help the needy, the homeless, the poor, the people that need food. We have seen this happen, especially in California, where those places that put it in the infrastructure, the numbers of crime went down, which means less police and less violent crimes, right? The big thing is the violent crimes. And so that's what they mean by defunded police, is because right now the crime is very high in lower economic areas. That's a fact. I mean, that's just, I don't think anybody disagrees with that.
Yeah, of course.
Because you need these programs. You need housing for people. You need food banks. And I think investing in that is a much better way to go than investing in the police force, except for training. But again, I think the way they do the training is ridiculous. They need to have more at the higher levels. The way they do the state police is crazy. How they do like 4 hours of training kind of stuff or whatever it is, and you're certified. And it's just not a great way to try to protect people. Because I live in Menifee, and they farm out. They used to farm. Or they got their new police force now, but they just recently got a police force. But they used to farm it out. It used to be farmed out from everybody else, and they just kind of drive through the area. They didn't care.
So do you think it's fair to say? And I think this point was made in the chat. The actual slogan itself is the issue, rather than say defund the police.
Yeah, I think there's a miscommunication that slogan.
We're fighting for better infrastructure
because they think that defund means abolishment, and she actually says this. She actually says, "Well, if they defund the police, who are you going to call?" Doesn't mean get rid of them. So I think it should have been something more like.
And she's playing that. Of course, she is.
Reallocate. It should have been the better way of selling it was reallocate police fundage to infrastructure.
Yeah,
but that's
we do have another super chat.
Yes, go ahead.
I don't think Stone Butt likes me, but
I like Stone Butt though. He's great, actually.
I think we probably get along.
So he likes me, but he hates you. Finally, I found somebody that.
See, this is the whole reason you get me on, Steve.
Yes, I don't feel so bad.
The balance between the left and right is laughable. There's no balance with someone who wants you dead. Look, the same argument could be made for both sides. I'm sure that if a communist regime came to power where I live, they'd probably, I run business organisations and I'm openly conservative. They'd take me out and shoot me probably. But look, I think that it's. The extremes on both sides suck, but there is a good balance in the middle. It's you can get good things from both, but it's don't always buy into the extreme narratives. That's what I'd say. But anyway, that's if you ever want to have that conversation, I'm happy to have that conversation. I'm happy to
leave him a note.
Particularly you want to address.
Yeah, leave him a comment, Stone Bud, because he loves comments on these videos. He. I used to get so many comments. Now he gets all the comments, and they're like that much.
I know you get a reprieve with me.
I don't think I've gotten any comments political wise on these shows that we've done so far. I don't know why. But so real quick, do you want me to do it in order she says them, or you want me to save the best for last and get through the other stuff?
Go in order.
Okay,
we'll go in order.
All right. So the next thing she starts talking about, this is a big one. She starts talking about being a first-generation American and that her parents immigrated.
Mm-hmm.
Her parents are from Puerto Rico. You don't immigrate from Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is a part of America. America owns Puerto Rico, so they are citizens. They've been citizens since like the 40s or something like that. So you can't immigrate from Puerto Rico to the United States. You can immigrate from Cuba, Havana, Nicaragua, Honduras, whatever. But Puerto Rico is a U.S. owned territory. She literally seemed to go out of her way to make it sound like her parents were immigrants, because she says this. They're immigrated from Puerto Rico to America. It's like, no, they did not. That was just straight up BS.
I agree.
Oh, God.
And look, the reason that was done was to, for the the Hispanic, which is another anomaly.
Exactly what it was done for.
The Hispanic vote. It's
you're immigrating from Mexico and Guatemala, Honduras, and all these other countries down down south. I agree. Which, by the way, is nothing to do with Puerto Rico.
Technically, Guam's part of the U.S. as well.
Guam is a territory. Yeah, my dad was stationed on Guam. That's a territory for the United States. During the war, they used to guard atomic bombs there. That's where they stationed them. So that is a territory, yes. There's also some other islands as well that the Americans own. But
So look, technically, she's wrong. And no, if she said, I didn't pick up on that. I thought that she said I knew she was pushing the Hispanic thing.
She said immigrated. She said her father immigrated.
I didn't pick up on that. But I agree with you, Steve.
I was listening and I stopped it and I never went back, and I was writing things down on my notepad. And I was like, holy crap, this is BS. And people have called her out on it, by the way. Then she goes on to dissing California. She's like saying, well, if you don't think socialism is bad, just check out the problems in California. It's like, well, now you're going to alienate California?
That's the Kamala Harris bad narrative that they're going to start running. They'll go on the attack against. Look, their strategy for Biden's pretty simple. Look, he's old. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's
a bit of a creep.
And they're going to it's well, actually they've been pretty light on that. I don't think anyone from the Trump side of things.
It will get worse by November.
Anyone being creepy, because I mean Trump's not exactly a saint there, is he? But they're going after Harris. They're going to run a fear campaign on you're going to get Kamala Harris, which for me
I agree
might actually swing me to want to vote for Biden.
No, I think you're right. I think they're going to attack Harris more than attack Biden.
Yeah, absolutely. She's going to be the big bad wolf. So that's why they're going to. California's going to be a basket case. There's going to be Armageddon's occurring in because they're not going to win California anyway.
They know that. It's Democrats 2-1.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, doesn't matter. Yeah. Same with New York. They're not going to win New York. Nope. They're not going to win. So
they're not isolating anybody that's going to vote for them.
And you know what? In the rural areas, they're probably happy to sit there and go, yeah.
But they're not. But I guarantee you, she's not going to insult Florida. She's not going to insult West Virginia or Idaho or any of the swing states. None of those states she's going to piss off.
Heaven forbid. In fact, why do you think she got the Hispanic part in? Because guess what? That's Florida has a large Hispanic vote. Right.
and that I don't know how many electoral votes it is. I think it was like 29 or something like that for Florida. But when Trump took Florida, that was the defining moment for him. It was all dominoes after that, pretty much. But he needed Florida they know they need Florida too, and she wants that
Mm.
Hispanic vote. And I think it was very dishonest for her to try to put herself out there as like, oh, look, I'm one of you guys because I'm a first generation American because my parents immigrated from a United States territory. It's not the same thing.
So, something that's just been actually two things from the chat I really quickly address. Stone, but we agree on something. Harris is awful, but better than Trump. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I agree.
Harris is better than Trump.
Yeah.
John Parker said that her father may have immigrated because he's Irish. So there could be a technicality, but she could have been.
He was a citizen of Puerto Rico, though.
Was he or was she?
Both of them were citizens of Puerto Rico, from what I understand.
Because Guilfoyle, that's.
But it doesn't matter. Her mother
that's
is
an Irish name, yeah.
But it's still Puerto Rico. She said he was an immigrant came over to America, not an immigrant going over to Puerto Rico, from what I understand. But she is full. Enough. Yeah, she is a citizen. That's just weird. Okay, so then she starts. Okay, these are we're just going real quick on. She fearmongers by mentioning heroin needles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Yep.
Riots, blackouts. Those are three things that people are playing on their fears. And you watch this, right? I know you watch this. So those are three things she played on fears. Mm-hmm. Then it gets to this part. She's like, well, we kneel in prayer. Mm-hmm. Okay, so now she's really catering to that evangelical base. Or any religious base, for that matter.
Of course she is. Yeah, of course she is.
Big time. Right.
Yeah. Because they're the ones who are going to get all inspired and want to go out in big droves to stop this evil communist threat. It's
socialist threat. Socialist threat.
Socialist threat. Sorry, the socialist threat. Yeah. Yes, but it's implied. It's implied. Look, the way that they're carrying on, you would think that the Soviet Union is going to rise if Joe Biden wins, and that everyone's going to the gulags. That's not going to happen.
No, it's for social programs, not for.
Here's exactly what will happen if Joe Biden wins. The right will spend 4 years complaining about how bad he is and how everything he does is terrible, how he's the worst president ever, and then until Kamala takes over, and then she'll be the worst president ever, and oh my God, she's unelected. We didn't vote for her. That's exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah, I think you're right on that.
Watch this back. If in 4 years, watch this video back, because that's if Biden wins, that's exactly what's going to happen. The world's not going to end.
No, I'm not going to disagree with you on that. I'm going to agree. I think this is going to age well. Yeah. Then she talks about Trump's America, very possessive form. Trump's America. Now, I understand all politicians do that, but politics. With her, it seems like Trump really does believe this is his country. And I don't mean like his country. I mean his country. Do you see what I'm saying? He actually thinks this.
Now, really, really quickly, because I've just done a bit of research. Guilfoyle's father is Irish. He did immigrate to the United States in 1957.
I thought he was Puerto Rican.
No, her mother's Puerto Rican. Father's Irish. So technically, she didn't lie, but what she did was misrepresent.
Because she said
represented as if.
Yeah. Okay.
So she is the child of an immigrant. Yes, her mother is, and she is Hispanic, and her mother is Hispanic, but the immigrant came from Ireland, so she's misrepresented.
Okay. Let's see. I had an article on that. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. Here we go. Puerto Ricans push back on Kimberly Guilfoyle's first-generation American remarks. Could her mom count as an immigrant even though she was born in a citizen? In that case, no, says political scientist Carlos Vargas Ramos. So I think she was saying that both her parents were immigrants.
Well, then she's wrong. If that's the case, she's wrong.
Yeah, she says, quote, and I just put this up if you'll see on the outside, but she says, as a first-generation American, I know how dangerous their social agenda is. My mother, Mercedes, was a special education teacher from Aguadil, Puerto Rico. My father, also an immigrant, came to this nation in pursuit of the American dream. So I don't know if I don't think this was a misspeak. She didn't say my father, who is an immigrant. She says my father, also an immigrant, implying that both her parents are immigrants. There you go. Yeah. So that makes more sense. So it's a little bit.
She's being deceitful.
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say yes, she's being deceitful. Once again, though, it's a political rally, is what they all do. Interestingly enough, I see that she was a California prosecutor. I wonder if she worked with Kamala.
I don't think so, but I know that she is a prosecuting attorney. Yes.
Yeah, and from California. So yeah, that's sort of that would have been interesting. But anyway,
the place that she was dissing. Okay, so she talks about cancel culture, which is, again, I think something we all rally around. Most people don't like cancel culture, so that's just a talking point.
Once again, she's fear mongering about it
Yes, yeah, it's a talking point for
because
mongering.
Biden and Harris don't represent that.
No, they don't. And this is what's funny is that
Hmm.
she's trying to relate cancel culture, which is a trigger things for people. People hear cancel culture. Anybody that's of sound mind, at least, we don't like cancel culture. Now, there's people out there that actually do advocate cancel culture. I'm against those people. I believe you are as well. But she's trying to get the fear from people. Hey, look, if you're against cancel culture, Biden and Harris, they're all about cancel culture. I'm like, no, they're not. Where? I haven't seen that.
Yep.
Let's see. Number 15 is blame America first. Yeah, she's talking about the culture out there where Biden and Harris are part of the culture that says, you know what, it's all America's fault.
Yeah, well, no, they're not. There's extreme elements on the left of politics that are putting that narrative out there, but that's just extremist viewpoints. It's
Right.
It's once again, it's not Biden. I mean, and so this pisses me off because and I know that people seem to think that I'll defend everything on the right. Well, no, I'm actually going to have a go at this because it pisses me off, this whole narrative that if it's on the left, it's only this extreme version. Because it's crap. It's not. The left is not extreme. There's extreme elements of the left. Same with the right. It's not everyone to the right of Bernie is Hitler. It's people on the right. Like me, we're just normal people. There's extreme elements on the right, and they suck. But the problem is here, and what she's doing is she's looking at the extreme elements of the left, and she's doing exactly what they criticize the people on the left who do the same thing by calling Trump Hitler and all that kind of stuff. She's doing the exact same thing.
Absolutely agree.
She's no better than those people who do that. Look.
But she's got charisma to put it out there. She's really playing it up like
she's playing to an audience, and you know what? There's people who are on that tribe, and once again, it comes back to tribalism, who are just going to go,
of course,
stop the cancel culture communists.
Yeah,
it's crap. It's absolute crap.
Then she goes on to say a lot of freedoms under the Patriot Act. Now, people can argue it's Well, here's the thing about that. You can never have a country that's fully safe and fully have freedoms. One is always a trade-off to the other. Always. You can not have 100% security with 100% freedoms. If you want less security for more freedoms, that's how it has to be, or more freedoms to have less security. It is a trade-off, and there's no possible way you can have 100% of both. And so the America has decided, okay, we're going to have a little bit less freedoms, but a little more security. And most people are down for that. Then it goes to the extreme where now you have people under the Patriot Act being whisked away in unmarked black vehicles merely for having different political opinions, which was not the reasons for the Patriot Act. But all they have to do is say, well, we think this person has terrorist ties.
Yeah, we're enforcing this under the Patriot Act, which is I agree.
And I'm sorry, to suspend the due rata process in America is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
It is a big deal. Even for a terrorist, it is a big deal. It should not be done cavalierly. And so I have a problem with the Patriot Act being used for that kind of stuff, which, by the way, people said it would be used for. I remember when they were being talked about, they're like, this could be misused. And they haven't fixed any of that stuff. Stonebutt, once again, go ahead. He's your buddy there. He loves you, Chris.
Okay. I don't know. Do I want to read it? The extreme elements of the right, fascists, have institutional power, where the moderate left have much less. Extreme left has none. No, I don't.
I don't know what you mean by institutional power. What does the right have institutionalized?
Look, you don't have fascists in power really in the US, the same as you don't have communists. I guess, and once again, it comes down to a viewpoint. Look, professionally, I'm a historian. So I study fascists, and I've also studied politics. So I can speak with some degree of expertise on this. I think you certainly have authoritarian elements, but you don't have fascist. I think that certainly there's authoritarian religious, which I'd probably say are more theocratic elements in the US, which, yes, is on the right and is
That's not fascism, though.
A concern. No, but it's not fascism.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think they want a theocracy of some sorts, but it's not the same thing.
I think it's, and I did see something that was actually in the chat earlier, which I do agree with, which Marty Moose said Trump has co-opted the Republican Party. I agree, and I almost feel sorry for the traditional conservatives.
But they've allowed him to. There's no such thing as a traditional conservative any longer. In America,
not in the US.
Yeah, in America, the traditional conservative is a thing of the past. They're marginalized. They're not being heard.
They are, and that's the thing. I mean, traditional conservatives don't have, and that's why I say, like, if
I would have been a traditional conservative, but
I wouldn't be voting. If I was in the US, I would not vote in the election, or I'd vote for maybe the Libertarian, or maybe if there was a good independent, just to try and push that third party vote up. But no, I wouldn't. And obviously it depends on the state you live in and things like that. So no, look, if I was in the US, I mean, I consider myself conservative. I consider myself right wing. If I was in the US, it might be a different. I think it would be a different story. I'd probably just call myself a centrist in the US. I'd probably be more, because I think American politics is polarized on both sides. I don't think there's a good middle ground either way. I think Kamala Harris is probably about as centrist as you would get.
She's a little bit left.
Even then.
Let me ask you this.
She's definitely left. Yeah.
There's just two things I want to point out. One, Dr. Zayas makes kind of a comment I agree and I don't agree, but he says they don't want just a theocracy. They think America already is a theocracy, a Christian nation. Yes and no. Yeah. They do agree that. I believe that is the case. They do think that's the case. They think it's only be a theocracy only for the fact that if Trump is put into presidency by God to lead the nation under some kind of Christian authority, then that is very reminiscent of a theocracy, right? But they don't have clergy actually running it. There's two main forms of theocracy. There's one where the actual clergy runs the country, but there's also a very stronger version of a theocracy where Jesus himself is supposed to run the country. So a lot of evangelicals want a theocracy, but not a man acting as some kind of middleman, as some kind of intercedent. They want Jesus himself to be the leader of the country. And that's what I think that right now they're thinking, well, they're going to have middle people like Trump until Jesus can come down and hang out and take over. That's what they think. That's the theocracy that they want.
It's like in North Korea, where the actual president of North Korea is Kim Il-sung, even though he's been dead for 30 years.
Because he's a god figure?
Yeah. It's now they are that it's they're a communist nation, but they're also a fascist theocracy.
Sure.
Let me assure you of that. So I just saw Dr. Zayas Jesus 2020. I think that it's if it was Pence, that's probably what you'd be getting. Now look, it's
the evangelicals still would vote for Trump over Jesus. I think they wouldn't even know. They wouldn't recognize Jesus if Jesus appeared to them. They're so far removed from what I consider what would be Christian values. It's ridiculous. Yeah, Hey, by the way, Zayas points out this, and this is true. You just committed a crime in North Korea.
Well, lucky I'm not there.
Yeah, it's still illegal to admit that King Il-sung is dead in North Korea. So you committed a crime by saying that he's no longer dead.
The eternal president.
They listen to this shit, right? They will find you. Probably. It was nice knowing you. You got balls of steel, man. You just pissed off the entire North Korea regime.
If I'm not on a North Korean hit list by now with my views, then I'd be pretty disappointed in myself.
So if Chris doesn't show up next week, just saying. Okay, so moving on here.
I'm doing hard labor.
What was the other thing I was going to mention? Oh yeah, there's two things. The second thing, that's why I pointed it out so I didn't forget. On Rum and Coke, we were talking about Antifa, and even though I don't think that the president really thought it through when labeling them a terrorist organization because they're decentralized, I do think their actions are terrorist. But we have people in the community who think that what we see for Antifa is the small minority, and that Antifa itself isn't like that. And what we see is just basically people that are not actual Antifa, but claiming to be Antifa, doing these horrible things with people. And I'm not sure I buy that. I think Antifa seems to be the ones that actually are doing very shitty things to get their positions across. And why I don't think they're a terrorist organization, because I don't think they're full-fledged centralized organization, they do use terrorist activity. I'm convinced of that.
Well, would you say the same about Al Qaeda? Is Al Qaeda a terrorist organization?
Yes, but they're rather decentralized too.
They are. They operate in cells. So
yeah.
No, look, I would consider there's certainly some elements of Antifa. Look, I think Antifa is a bit like what you see with BLM. I think you've got people who are genuinely good people who are protesting what they see as authoritarian or fascist things that are going on from their point of view. I can accept that because people have different views and that's fine. People have got different perspectives on what's what. But then there's also that element that is essentially, they are fascist in the way that they're operating. They want to burn everything down. What they're doing is exactly what the SA did back in 1930s Germany.
Snowblood says, send both of you Umberto's Eco's 14 common features of fascism. Trump and a vast majority of Republicans are fascist. See, I'll look at that. Don't get me wrong. I'll look at it.
Look, I'll have a look at it. Look, I've sat there with I've sat there in politics classes where I've heard that the Greens in Australia are a right wing party and they're to the left. I mean, they have former communists in them. Politics is very much about how you perceive it, but you would find that the vast majority, not that I'm absurdum as popular or whatever it is, that majority rule argument doesn't always apply. But I can tell you, as someone who's studied political science, no,
Hoxkill,
he's not fascist.
Hoxkill points out that that Jesus was tend to be socialist. And I'm telling you, if Jesus said, hey, Trump, you need to give up all your worldly possessions, you need to give up all your wealth, what do you think Trump would say to Jesus?
He would first say, well, that's not Jesus, that's the false prophet, and no, we're not doing that. Of course we're not.
Yeah, but
he'd give a great speech, and all the evangelicals would get right behind him.
I 1,000% agree with that. But let's say after that happens, Jesus goes, no, yeah, it's really me. And it really is. I think Trump would tell him to piss off.
Well, no. If you know that eternal life's on the line, maybe you might make a difference.
I think his money means more to him than eternal life,
especially at his rather advanced age. But no. I mean, look, I don't think there is a Jesus, but I think we're very much dealing in hypotheticals.
Sure.
But no. Look, I don't think that. I do think that Jesus was probably more socialist in his attitudes, which far out. The conservative Christians hate that.
Yeah, because it goes against what Christians have been preaching for a very long time. It used to be growing up, Christians were the ones that were socialists. They were like more about giving. They were very do unto others. Treat your neighbors. Love your neighbors. That kind of stuff. Nowadays, no, it's a lot more hate mongering. Oh, you don't do this, you're going to burn in hell. Oh, you're gay, you're going to spend eternity in hell. This is the fear mongering that they do. They didn't go. A lot of them have actually argued. In fact, Cy Tenberg argues this. He argues that Jesus and God, they're not the lover peacemaker kind of thing. They're to be feared. They will mess you up if you don't follow them. They're blatant about it. Yeah, well, I'm not saying that they're. I'm not saying they're not in concordance with the Bible, but
drowning the world. But
no, I think they're. I think there are definitely more in concordance to the Old Testament than just having this loving being.
What evangelicals believe and teach and preach is so far removed from the Bible, and I mean that's why a lot of people who are like me, I went and studied. The reason atheist pastor is a tag I use. The reason for that is purely because I went to study. I was going to be a pastor. I went and studied it, and guess what? I read the thing. I deconverted pretty quick.
There's a problem. There's a lot of problems in there. Yeah.
A lot of atheists read the Bible Christians read the Bible and deconvert.
No, I know that's very common. And like I said, there's a lot of things in the Bible I didn't even know about until later in my life. And I'm like, really? That's in there? I had no idea. I mean, a lot of things I was like, I never heard of this stuff growing up, even though we had Bible study, but I never heard of it. And I've read it. But if you don't know what the hell you're reading, it doesn't make much sense to you. You just kind of go through it, you know? You don't know. You don't understand the Bible when you read it. The
New Testament, and about 10% of the Old Testament that you use. I mean, it's let me tell you, I can assure you, when I was preaching, I wasn't preaching Levitical law.
No, but some do. I mean, look at Hovind. He'll cherry pick Levitical law.
Yeah, but he cherry picks it, and that's the
Yes.
thing. I mean, I'm sure he's not sending, women to the
No.
to the outskirts of town once a month, and I reckon he's probably eating bacon. I mean, he wears Hawaiian shirts. You can't tell me he's not having ham and pineapple.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just they're very, very selective. All right, let's get through these. She credits Trump for the defeat of ISIS.
No, I think it's look. It happened while he was president, but I would actually say it was probably more Obama.
I think Obama policies probably helped more than that. The Baghdad Al Baghdad. How do you pronounce his name? Baghdad.
Baghdadi.
Baghdad.
Yeah, Baghdadi.
It's not Baghdadi, is it? It's Baghdad, isn't it? Al Baghdad.
Oh yeah. Sorry, yeah.
So the Al Baghdad raid.
I know who you mean.
Yeah, the Al Baghdad raid, which by the way he didn't lead. It was actually what's his name? Kelly, Frank Kelly.
Yeah, but he issues the executive order for it. They've got to get approval from him.
But it was a joint chief of staff. Somebody. He's the one that actually planned it all out and did it. I mean, Trump just authorized it.
That's normal. It's like Obama claimed it for when Bin Laden was killed, but I mean, Obama didn't plan, or Obama was presented with a plan and authorized it. That's how that works. They all do that. One thing I will say about Trump though is he's the first U.S. president since Roosevelt, or since before Roosevelt, sorry, who hasn't declared war. Hasn't gone to war.
Although it was McKenzie, by the way. So it was General Kenneth Frank McKenzie. That was his name, and from U.S. Central Command. He's the one that did all of it. But like you said, no, the president authorizes it. But the president.
Yeah.
Like Trump will take credit for anything, whether he has anything really to do with it or not. He's like, I authorized it.
Yeah, that's politicians.
I hate that crap. So all these people do all the hard work.
So
and he
do
goes,
I. It's bullshit.
I did it.
Yep.
I don't think Obama would take credit for that. Obama would have been like, hey, thank you, commanders and commanders in chief.
I think he did, and I could be wrong, but yeah.
By the way, 2 kids died in that bombing too. I mean, he killed himself with a suicide vest and took out 2 children too, which I mean they said was a success. But at the same time, it's like, I really hate having these civilian casualties and being called a success,
Yeah,
it sucks.
I mean, just having acceptable casualties. I don't think anything's acceptable. Really,
I think on the same way, but it sucks. I mean,
yeah,
There's
more to it. It's not that simple, unfortunately.
Right. All right, moving on here. We got about we started at 3 after, so about 10 minutes. 21. Trade with China. He's taking credit. She's trying to give him credit for trade with China. Although, didn't he want to impose some kind of taxations? I thought.
Yeah, I thought she was talking about, regulating the trade with China.
Well, everybody does that though.
China had a pretty good deal with the US, and he's basically put taxes on it. He's put tariffs.
Yeah, I thought he was trying to tax that, from what I understand.
Yeah. It's tariffs come on and off in all countries all the time.
Tariffs don't usually do very good. Though.
He started a trade war with China, and the US is probably going to win that trade war.
But, is that something we really wanted to do though?
No, I wouldn't have thought so. Yeah. But once again, it's part of his short term. It's really short term protectionist policy.
Yeah, and he's pissing these countries off big time.
China can get China. One thing I will say here, China, and this isn't directed at the Chinese people.
No, but the government's ridiculous.
The Communist Party of China, they can go and
screw
they
themselves.
Can get stuffed.
Yeah.
I'm glad that as an Australian, I'm glad that the US intervenes and pulls China into line, because what China is doing in my part of the world is
but should we be the world's police? Look, look. Here's my position on this.
Yes,
yes,
you should. America should be the world's police.
I think that China, clearly the government has major problems. They are a shit government. I don't mind being the world's police, but we need to do it with support from other nations. We cannot have unilaterally do it, because that's not going to end well for anybody.
You do have that support. You've got the support of other nations.
We do and we don't. I mean, for example,
I live in one of those. Australia.
Okay, Australia. What are you going to do? Send kangaroos over to help us?
Yay. Yeah, absolutely. They jump.
Canada, yay! A couple of UKers.
We drop the drop bears on you. It's
the drop bears. No, that's from 20,000 feet. Yeah, the drop bears.
All right, so here's what's going on in the Pacific at the moment. Okay, it's called the Road and Belt arrangement. What what China's doing is they're essentially bankrupting or loaning small Pacific nations a ton of money that they know that they can never pay back. It bankrupts the countries, and then all of a sudden China says, well, we'll write the debt off, but Chinese military base. They're getting all these Chinese military bases everywhere. They're raising up and creating artificial islands in the South China Sea, which the South China Sea isn't off the coast of China. We're talking Vietnam and around that area, sort of Malaysia, sort of heading down to there. They're creating these artificial islands, claiming them as territory, claiming the waters around them, and essentially stopping other nations from having commercial.
They're taking out the international waters and claiming it their own.
Yeah, so they're doing things like that. Like what China is actually doing
that we can't allow
is and look, it's it's Trump has been strong on it. Obama was strong on it as well. The US is strong on it, and you know what? Does the US need to be the world's police at the moment? Yeah.
No, I'm not against that.
We need a strong democratic nation.
I'm against. I'm against
this kind of stuff.
When countries try to take over places to avoid having to help inhibit trade by taking over territories to limit trade through international waters and international trade routes that have already been established. There's some problems there. But
who's going to stop China though?
Well, we can't stop them, but what we can do is definitely.
Actually, the US can stop them, and that's the thing. The US, you know why Taiwan hasn't been invaded. I mean, the Chinese have gone back in. They've taken control over Hong Kong.
Yeah, they own Hong Kong, and the government's now officially taken over.
The Uyghur people, what they're doing to them is just
disgusting.
Horrific.
Yeah.
It's China are getting away with a lot of human rights abuses, and they're getting away with a lot of things where they're bullying their smaller neighbours.
So why don't other countries
now, they would be in Taiwan if it wasn't for the US fleet sitting off the coast, and the Australians are there as well. If we weren't all sitting off the coast of Taiwan, that's the only deterrent that's
and you're probably very right on that. And the United States has been a deterrent for these larger countries. For their growth, right? For their militarization and expansion. But do you think, though, that when it comes to and actually being the world's police, that we are being supported? Because I don't know. I don't see it. Again, I do agree with you. When it comes to humanity rights and violations of human rights, look, I think America should stand up. And Trump, I would support him on that. Obama certainly did. Even the Bush administration did. But I don't think that I just see a lot of other countries really calling out China.
Oh yeah. I'll send you the.
Right.
Yeah, but you're not getting. So, and this is a problem with America. And please don't take this as offensive. Anyone in America, Americans are so focused on what's happening in America and American news, you don't see what happens in the rest of the world.
Oh, you might be right. No, I'm not an isolationist.
I can tell you. I can tell you right now. It's in the Australian news today. Our Prime Minister has announced measures to stop China being able to influence universities and certain groups.
Okay.
It's one of the big stories. So
I believe you.
It's absolutely happening. Yeah.
Good. Then you've changed my position on that. I have no reason to doubt you. I don't know anything about how Australia has been doing that. So, all right. So, on the last things now, she credits Trump for job creations and jobs, which again, unemployment has been really high, but we'll blame that on the pandemic. So,
but prior to the pandemic, it's. Unemployment was low, but once again, that was due to protectionist policies. It was only a very short-term fix. It wasn't a long-term solution. It was always going to go back up.
This is actually a good one. The next one, she used the term "emancipates" about Trump emancipating, and this goes back to the whole thing of enslavement. I actually missed this one. It was control, then enslavement, then a defeat of the ISIS, because she used the word enslavement, and this goes on later to say Trump emancipates. So she talks about slavery, and then she talks about Trump being the emancipator kind of thing. There was a correlation there.
That's a buzzword. It's
right.
No, he doesn't emancipate.
Right.
No, he does not.
Again, when I was taking notes, these are the things I was catching. I was like, wait a minute. She's talking about how you vote for Biden and Harris, you'll be enslaved to them kind of thing. And that's obviously a hyperbolic word. And then number 24 was destroys families. This actually plays to the family base, right? The evangelical family base. And then destroys future generations. So that she ended it basically on, hey, vote for Trump or you're going to be destroying the future of mankind. And she was so animated about the entire time. You know, you're going to destroy future generations. Oh my God, vote for Trump because if not, you're a horrible human being.
It was all crap. Let's be honest. It was populist rubbish that was designed to get rile up a base. The reason it all sounds so strange, though, it's because it does sound a bit weird. It misses the crowd. The crowd would have been going off for that. The crowd would have been cheering, and it would have been a very different speech. She did a great speech for a crowd in front of no one.
Yeah, where was she talking? I mean, there was like nobody in the audience.
No, because the conventions are all online.
It's all virtual.
It's all virtual.
It's all virtual, yeah. Yeah. So I'm wondering, I just thought about this. In her mind's eye, I bet she was hearing applause.
Of course, yeah. And look, a lot of the time when people deliver these speeches, they've got the earpieces in so they can hear what they're saying and they can't necessarily hear the crowd. So it's probably something she's used to.
Yeah.
And look, it's something that she's done. She's obviously a very good speaker. She
very articulate, and she's very, she's very comely, very good looking.
The content of what she said, yes, I take issue with, same as you.
By the way, she's older than me, and I'm like, damn. She.
I would imagine if we were to have a look at similar speeches from the DNC, we're going to find the same thing. You're going to find it on both sides.
Probably.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we didn't get a chance in the DNC. Maybe next time. But the DNC, I don't know. Like I said, I think the whole thing talking about the DNC is basically that they really need to find better candidates, man. That's the only thing I can say about the DNC.
Look, what they do need to do is they need to start pushing out more policy rather than just orange man bad, orange man.
They do. I agree 1,000%. They never really give their game plans. Matter of fact, we talked about that with the Secretary of Education, how she wanted to reopen schools but had no policy, no plans, no preparation, no plan whatsoever to do it. And I don't see anything coming out from the Democratic side how they want to do anything. That's what they're missing.
And that's why there's the big walkaway movement. Look, I think Biden will win. I actually do think he'll.
But it's only because he's going to win because people don't want to vote for Trump. He has not put out very much policy about what his plans are.
No, look, I think it's just. I think people will. I think Trump and the Republicans are making the same mistake that the Democrats are making, where they're making it all about, Kamala's bad, Kamala's bad. Look at California, Kamala's bad, Kamala's bad. And, Joe Biden, Sleepy Joe, and all that kind of stuff. Now, look, that worked a little bit against Hillary. But what Trump also did was we're gonna build a wall, we're gonna bring jobs back, we're going to do, and he was saying this is what we're going to do for policy, whether it's good.
But
or
he
not,
didn't do any of that stuff.
But he got.
But he
out there.
at least said he was. He got elected on false promises that he never came to fruition. I mean, the wall's a joke. But
maybe he is a politician.
Well, he definitely is. But anyways, wrap this up, my friend. This was really awesome, and thank you guys for the super chats. And we're humbled. Not a large audience tonight, but still, this was awesome, and we enjoy it. We enjoyed it a lot. So, Atheist Pastor, Chris, what do you got for coming up that people might want to go watch on your channel?
Well, I always like to have fun. I'm actually having a chat with, I guess, actually my producer, Ozman. He's we're doing a Ask Conservative Questions. It's more an Australian-based sort of thing. So if you want to find out about Australian politics, that's 9:30 p.m. my time, which is 7:30 a.m. on the east coast of the US. Or tomorrow night, for fun, where we've got Friday Night Six Pack, where we're talking about aliens in the Bible. So that'll be Friday, 7:30 a.m. US East Coast, which I think is 4:30 a.m. So you might watch the replay if you're on the West Coast, or 9:30 p.m. if you're in Australia.
So you're saying that people interpreting the aliens in the Bible?
Yeah, we just thought it'd be a fun topic to. There's a lot of people who think that there's aliens in the Bible, Ezekiel's wheel, things like that. Yeah, so
I just think it was hallucinations. No. But yeah, I still got to get with.
I think it was all written by people trying to get out of Babylonian exile. But It's interesting. So look, we just try and bring up an interesting topic every week. We normally talk about it for 5 minutes while we're all having a drink. It's a Friday night for us, so we talk about things for 5 minutes, and then the conversation can kind of go anywhere.
Yeah, and if I'm awake at that hour,
like
I'd
a rum
love
and
to
coke
join.
night.
So just keep asking me. If I'm happen to be awake, I'll join. If not, then I've been going to bed really early lately, really early, like about 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at my time.
We do have a spare spot, so if you want to come on, mate, I'd love to have
this.
you on.
Well, this is on Friday, right? Yeah, so it's so many days from now. It's 2 days from now. I don't know. Maybe. If I'm up, I would join.
Tomorrow for me.
Yeah. If I'm up, I would like to join.
I'll talk to you about it tomorrow. Yeah.
But anyways, guys, like, share, subscribe, and anything I got coming up? Oh, yeah, I know what I was going to say. I still got to do that thing with one guy, John, from the Atheist International Alliance, who, by the way, is a very liked person. But we're going to be talking, I want to talk to him about some of his policies, not particularly the drama that went on with him. So I have to get back in touch with him. You know what I'm talking about?
Well, actually, I spoke to him yesterday. Actually, yeah. We did a Authenticity of the Bible special and did an interview with him. So
yeah, I want you to be part of that. I want you to kind of moderate it, kind of stuff, if possible.
Well, yeah, I was going to say it might actually be a good opportunity for me to maybe moderate a discussion between you two. Because, I seem to get on with him pretty well, and I get on.
The problem is his timing, because he's UK.
That's all right. Look, if I just have to moderate it and don't have to think too much, we'll make it at a time that works for you guys, and I'll be there drinking coffee, enjoying the show.
Okay. Well, we'll figure it out. All right, guys, good night, and we'll leave you with that. And like I said, like, subscribe, and share the video. We appreciate it. And leave comments for Chris, for him.
And look, I'll reply to as much as I can. Obviously, if you write an essay, I probably won't reply with an essay. If we disagree on something, I'm happy to say that we disagree, and that's because it's okay to disagree. It is.
Just come back and check the video every so often.
Hit me up on Twitter as well, at @atheist_pastor. I'm always happy to have conversations, and it's even if I disagree, or you might change my mind. I've had my mind changed before.
Yeah, you don't get a notice if there's a comment, so you just have to check back.
Yeah, I go back and check. Yeah.
All right, guys. Good night.